Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Oldham County Fiscal Court. I'm David Vogel, Judge Executive. We're happy to have all of you here today for the Fiscal Court meeting. Apologize for getting started a little bit late. We had several committee meetings this morning, and as we normally do on Fiscal Court days, and we had some run over just a little bit. So if you're able to please turn off your cell phone, I'll ask you that first, and then ask you to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Magistrate Likens.
Here.
Magistrate Tice.
Here.
Magistrate Harrison. Here. Magistrate Greenwell.
Here.
Magistrate Hounds.
Here.
Magistrate Hawkins. Here. Magistrate Dye.
Here.
Magistrate Logsdon.
Here.
Judge Vogel.
Here. Having all members of the Fiscal Court present, this meeting is now in session. Is there a motion to accept the agenda?
Second.
All right. Believe we have a couple items that may come off. Magistrate Hounds?
I haven't heard back from Deputy Judge Nuss about the contract for the building with Rotor Construction. I believe we're going to pull that off. He's checking right now, so
All right.
we'll just put it on hold.
All right.
I'm sorry, he said, yes, we're pulling it.
All right. All right, we'll remove that one. All right. That'd be G, sub-item 1. Is there anything else?
Judge, like to remove the first reading. That will be C under community business of the 911 fee.
All right. We'll remove that as well. Is there anything that needs to be added? All right. Seeing no other changes, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we'll go on and read the minutes from our last meeting. That meeting was on, what day was that? The 28th of June.
June 28th, 2019. The Oldham County Fiscal Court convened at a special meeting at 1 p.m. with Judge Executive David Vogel, County Attorney John Carter, and the following magistrates in attendance: Brent Likens, Wayne Tice, Albert Harrison, Steve Greenwell, Chris Hounds, Stephanie Hawkins, Bob Dye, and Michael Logsdon. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to approve the agenda. Motion carried unanimously. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Dye to approve the meeting minutes from June 18th. Motion carried unanimously. Public comment, none. Judge Vogel welcomed special guest Chrissy Dutton from Kentucky Association of Counties. Community Foundation of Oldham County presentation. Travis Rice and Chuck Moore with Community Foundation of Oldham County presented information and a grant request to the court for its Oldham County Workforce Readiness Project and responded to questions. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to forward the grant request by Community Foundation to the Grants Committee. Motion carried unanimously. Oath of office, County Treasurer. Judge Vogel administered the oath of office to County Treasurer Melissa Horn. County Administration, budget transfers. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Hounds to approve the budget line item transfers for fiscal year 18-19. Motion carried unanimously. Fund transfers. Motion made by Magistrate Dye, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to approve the fund transfers for fiscal year 18-19. Motion carried unanimously. Payables. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Logsdon to approve the payables with the addition of 5 invoices as presented. Motion carried unanimously. Contracts and resolutions. Resolution for Harmon's Animal Removal Service. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Dye to authorize the Judge Executive to sign Resolution Number 01062819 relating to the dead animal carcass removal fee in Oldham County. Motion carried unanimously. Transfer of real estate, J.R. Foods in Buckner. Motion made by Magistrate Tice, seconded by Magistrate Greenwell to authorize the Judge Executive to sign the agreement with J.R. Foods for transfer of real property relating to Highway 146 and Quality Place in LaGrange. Motion carried unanimously. Committee recommendations. Road Committee erosion control bond release for the O'Reilly Auto Parts. Motion made by Magistrate Logsdon, seconded by Magistrate Dye. upon the recommendation of the county engineer to release the $13,200 erosion control bond for O'Reilly Auto Parts in Crestwood. Motion carried unanimously. Personnel actions. Dispatch. Motion made by Magistrate Hounds, seconded by Magistrate Dye to accept the resignation of Dennis Tegathoff, Jr., effective June 28th. Motion carried unanimously. Second public comment, none. Announcements. Fiscal Court members wished everyone a safe and happy 4th of July. Be careful and considerate when setting off fireworks. Magistrate Hawkins announced July 4th celebration at Wendell Park. Family activities from 2 to 10, ending with a fireworks display. Magistrate Hound stated he received a lot of complaints about cut grass being blown onto roads. This can be a serious hazard for motorcycles, so please be mindful when mowing. Magistrate Greenwell said he and several fiscal court members attended the Joint County Judge Association and Magistrates Conference this week. Magistrate Harrison gave an update on the road repairs completed on Highway 524 and that the bridge repair is still on schedule. Judge Vogel presented a large road sign that he hopes will be approved for installation on Interstate 71, speed limit strictly enforced, in an effort to slow speeders down. Motion made by Magistrate Greenwell, seconded by Magistrate Dye to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried unanimously. The meeting adjourned at 2:10 p.m.
You have heard the reading of our minutes from the June 28th meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Are there any corrections or additions? Well, let's say corrections, we don't add the minutes. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Time now for public comment. Is there anyone here who is not scheduled for some other activity to speak to the fiscal court today about something? Please come forward. Karen Greenwell.
And do I put this here for everyone to see?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay. Is that placed correctly there? Not seen it, but Judge Vogel, thank you, Sheila. Judge Vogel, Mr. Carter, magistrates, everyone gathered, and those that are watching on TV. City Place is having their first annual Summer Family Fun Fest, and this is a free community event that we would love to invite all of you, your families, and as I said, everyone here and watching to come and be part of. We have at least 30 different vendors and nonprofits that are putting on things for the fun of the family. Bounce house, ice cream, food truck, those things you'll need to pay for your food, but other than that, no admission. There will be a vendor and craft show, and so we expect it to be a great time. This is the Saturday after Oldham County Day, so not this week, but Saturday, July 27th. The event will run from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and again, we invite everyone to come to City Place Saturday, July 27th for this fun event. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay.
Sounds like
Any
great
questions or anything?
thing.
No.
Anybody have any questions?
Great.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Hope you'll participate.
You did say ice cream, didn't you?
I did, and you know that's my number one. I also hear there'll be popcorn and cotton candy. So, and Sparky the Fire Dog and water sprays by our local fire department from LaGrange. So,
That sounds great, and don't want to usurp that, but I do want to let people know the big symphony is coming up in
Yes.
September as well.
Exactly. So we'll have you save the date, and that is going to be Friday, September 6th. That's Friday, September 6th. The Louisville Orchestra will be again in a free concert for the community. We'd love for everyone to come and be a part of this very special event at City Place. We'll tell you more about that as we get closer.
Right. That was a great treat last year. I know
Thank
it
you,
will be
Judge.
this year, as
Thank
well
you.
as this event
Thank
coming
you.
up here.
We're
So,
looking forward to it. Love
appreciate
to
it.
serve the community.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address fiscal court? I'll close the public comment and just I want to mention, we maybe heard in the minutes that we launched an effort last week to ramp up as much enforcement on the interstate as we can in relation to speeding. We've had quite a bit of feedback from people who think that cell phones or people driving in the left-hand lane or several other reasons are the cause of accidents and the safety issues on the interstate. A lot of people think that going faster than the speed limit is not one of them. Well, a speed limit is set for a speed limit reason. It's not there just for the heck of it. There was a good reason why it was put out there by the KYTC is what is considered a safe speed limit. I haven't made any bones about the fact that I think Oldham County is, as far as I'm concerned, until we have 6 lanes out to LaGrange, needs to be known as a speed trap. We don't like them in Georgia and Florida, but for the safety of our citizens here, we need and will press for continuous enforcement. Last week, we did write 148 tickets on the interstate. We had 7 accidents. 3 people were arrested for various reasons. So far this year, we've had 1,324 citations or courtesy notices given. That's 1,324 interactions with our police on the interstate. We're going to have more, and I urge everyone to drive the speed limit, be courteous, stay in the right lane. We want safety for our children and ourselves. Let's not be dishonest about it. I don't want to be an accident out there, neither do you. So everybody paying attention to what's going on is going to help significantly. As the meeting began, Magistrate Dye handed me something I think you might like to go through. It's interesting here now in relation to the highway and just how long it takes to stop.
Thank you, Judge. I got this from an officer, a friend of mine. It's a braking, stopping distance chart for people that, think they know what they don't know. But I'll just use the interstate as an example. If you're going 70 miles an hour, you're traveling 102.7 feet per second. It says here, your braking deceleration distance when you start stopping, when you hit your brake, is 234 feet. Your perception distance, that's when you're kind of looking and you're getting ready to hit your brakes, 154 feet. So if you're going 70 miles an hour, it takes you 388 feet to stop. Okay? Now, that seems like a lot. What's a car, about 10 foot?
Right.
About 40 car lengths it takes you to stop at 70 miles an hour. You go, remember the number 388. You go to 75 miles an hour, it goes to 433, which is about 5 more car lengths. 80 miles an hour, you go to 481, which is an additional 10 car lengths. 85 at 5, that's 532. That's really rolling, that's 50 car lengths. And 90 miles an hour, if you have to stop, you're going 584 feet, which is 58 car lengths. So if you take the average building lot, I would say is probably, and I have 2 real estate people on each side of me here, is about what?
What's average?
60 foot wide? No. About 6 or 7 car lengths wide? There you go. So it's interesting to see, and when you go down to 10 miles an hour, it's only 3 car lengths. So as it multiplies up, the distance gets further to stop. So it just gives you an idea that, when you're doing 70, you're at 388. You bump that up to 90, you're doing 584. So that's 20 more car lengths. That's an accident waiting to happen.
So is that a 3-second rule?
Doesn't mention the 3-second rule. So anyway, I think it's interesting for people to understand that, well, you're going so fast, I know I can stop from there. I don't think they say you're supposed to be 1 car length for every 10 miles an hour. I believe that rule doesn't apply anymore. So anyway, I gave that to the judge. He can post that on on the website, but it is a piece of good information. Thank you.
And please don't tailgate. There's so many people that come right up behind you, and it's it's a little discouraging. Look in your mirror and see someone right on your bumper. I believe at the last meeting, Magistrate Harrison here calculated that if you're going 80 miles an hour when you hit the Henry County line, you would get to the Jefferson County line in what, about 2 minutes sooner?
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
If you get there.
Oh, you're right, if you get there. So it's no big advantage to be in a hurry. So don't mean to beat that drum to death, but come on, we're trying to speak to as many people as we can. Thank you for your listening. Now we're going to go on to we have several presentations today we're looking forward to. And the first one is from the LaGrange Fire Protection District. Chief Sitzler is here, along with Attorney J.D. Tice. And we'd like to welcome you guys to the Oldham County Fiscal Court.
Good afternoon, Judge Vogel, magistrates. We're here on behalf of the LaGrange Fire Protection District to just give some testimony about the tax rate we're levying this year and the anticipated revenue that we think we're going to receive from that. So the tax rate that the Board of Trustees of the LaGrange Fire Protection District approved was a 10-cent per $100 of assessed value property tax that was approved at our meeting last week. That's the same tax rate we've levied for at least 10 years at this point. From that, we anticipate generating $1,699,000 or $699,400 based upon the preliminary tax rolls that we've received from the Oldham County PVA. We distributed a copy of our budget, which you can get online through the Kentucky Department of Local Government and as well through our website, and we distributed a copy as well to all the magistrates. Our three big items, obviously our payroll, our debt service, which is the loans on some of our trucks, as well as the bonds that we issued to build Station 1. And then our third big expense is just our operating expense, which covers things like training, maintenance on the trucks, et cetera. In terms of capital outlay for this year, we do have two large items. One's for replacement of self-contained breathing apparatuses that just have to be replaced every so often, as well as some renovation projects both at Station 3 and Station 2 and some paving work at Station 1. In terms of what's been going on with the department, we set another record for runs for calendar year 2018. We made 943 runs in 2018. That's the fourth out of the past 5 years where we've set or surpassed our record for a number of runs made in a year. We're currently at 465 runs through the end of June, so we're a little behind that pace, but still well on track to surpass 900 runs for the year. And at that point, if there are any questions from the magistrates, we're welcome to entertain those at this time.
How many full-time firefighters do you have?
Full-time, there's two, well, you can answer.
Myself and my fire inspector, Major Smith. Everybody else is part-time.
Everybody else part-time, all right.
We do have, people that aren't aware, we do have a part-time crew that works 6A to 6P, 12-hour shift, Monday through Friday. So Monday through Friday, we usually have 4 to 5 people on an apparatus. Weekends, we do a volunteer incentive program. Volunteers can sign up, and they work a 10-hour shift. They'll work from 7A to 5P. So and they get it's a series of credits. Part-time people and volunteers are treated different in terms of, the way the pay, because a volunteer theoretically is a volunteer. So you really have to be careful, how you compensate a volunteer.
Right, they're compensated per run basis. On every run they go out, they get compensation for that.
Right, okay. And now, I know you have several sleeping rooms over there. People stay all night some nights?
We have some live-ins at Station 2. Right now, we have 2. We don't have any live-ins at Station 3. At Station 1. The reason we put dorms in at 1 is for the future advancement of going 2448. Because it's coming, just a matter of time, so you might as well go ahead and put the provisions in. Station 2 is the same way. We can accommodate. We've got 5 living rooms upstairs. But like I say, that's mostly for the volunteer live-ins.
Right. Does anybody else have any questions here? Don't have any questions? I know you're.
I'm going to let him go.
You let him go, okay.
Don't give me a break, huh?
Okay. Well, how much did you generate for the crusade this year?
33,000. We
Good
were
job.
1,000 over last year.
Good job. Appreciate all of you out there, and we, of course, are close to the Station 1 here, so every time you come out the driveway, we generally hear that something's happened, and you're on your
Oh,
way.
yeah,
Yep, it's frequent.
yeah. Speaking of the crusade, usually we get 20% of our donations, believe it or not, from the intersections like the four-way. What this new red light's gonna do next year, who knows?
Right.
Know if it's gonna help us or hurt us, but it is what it is.
Well, you know,
Now, it's
Really?
gonna help us if a train's coming through town, cause everything's gonna back up and you got them at that point. But,
well, we'll see how that goes, and I don't think it's going to hurt you any. I hope it helps you, and it'll create, despite what some people are saying, it's going to create a more safe environment at that intersection.
I do have one comment about, you're talking about 71. Seems like lately we've had a lot of accidents, but a lot of them, they're basically rear enders involving tractor trailers. We had one, I think it was a week ago Thursday, is actually 2 wrecks at the same spot. We had 2 vehicles, 2 cars, they ended up off the road. We cleared, the police were still there. One of the record drivers was trying to remove one of the vehicles off the side of the road. Tractor trailer stopped, car ran in the back of it, and a car ran in the back of that one. So now the interstate's totally shut down. And plus, I wasn't there, I was told one of the tow truck drivers had to jump out of the way or he'd have been hit. So, people, they're just not paying attention. Anytime you have a rear ender, you're either going too fast or you're not paying attention.
Right.
Now, the repaving up in Henry County is not helping. Cause I don't know if anybody has, paid attention, but traffic really backs up when they start paving in the evening. So when that's gonna be done, I don't know. You have any idea?
I don't right now. Imagine we could find out, but
Well, I was just curious,
No.
because it really causes a,
I know there's work in Henry County underway, but we don't get apprised of the specifics that much. But
one more thing on that, some people complain why we start shutting things down. We don't have a choice. The safety of our firefighters and the police officers and the record drivers, and we just about virtually always shut down one lane. Is that gonna cause havoc? Yes, it is. You know,
Right.
it's dangerous out there, that's all I can tell you. Just flat out dangerous. So,
Well, that's why we're doing our best to step up enforcement and create an attitude that when you come to Oldham County, slow down, be safe. All right, thank you very
Judge.
much for coming in. The next item on today's agenda it comes from the Extension District, and we have Chairman David Dybel here, and also John Solomon, who's Extension District Attorney.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Judge Carter, magistrates. I'm David Dybel, Chairman of the Extension District. I'll present a proposed budget for this coming year, 2018-2019. We expect a total income of $961,476, operating expenses of $695,498, and an ending cash balance of $1,045,138.51.
That's a million.
I'm sorry,
Million 45.
$1,045,138.51. I can't give you the tax rate yet because U of K just sent it to us today, and we haven't had a chance to vote on it yet. We just received it.
All right. I know that some of your support staff is here today from the Extension District, the council, and some of our employees. Would anybody like to discuss any of the programs that you have underway?
One of the programs that we are most proud of in another week or so, and we've sent you notice of it, 4-H camp leaves Oldham County. We have close to 400 people going, including the young people and adult support staff. It's 7 Greyhound-type buses that will be going, and we have the whole camp reserved. We're one of the few counties that gets to use the whole camp. And they have 2 new cabins this year, and we'll be using those, so we're very proud of that. I'd just like to mention that I'm older than a lot of you folks, and when we moved here, Chester Brown was county agent, and he took the first camp they went to, he took 6 or 5 young people and himself in his automobile to a 4-H camp. Past that, I hauled 10 or 12 in a cattle truck down there, and past that, I took their luggage in a cattle truck, and they went on school buses. So that's how this has grown up in the past years, and we're very proud of that.
All right. Does any member of the Hab Fiscal Court like to ask any questions? Magistrate Hounds?
What do you intend to do with your cash? You got ending cash balance. What are the future plans?
The cash balance right now with pending litigation, we're holding that balance for the pending litigation that we're facing. After that, it's capital to purchase a building or to, in some way, get out of paying rent of what we're doing now.
Right, you moved to a new facility in, I want to say November. Was it November of last year? You're now in LaGrange on Parker Drive, isn't it? I think it's the name of the street. It's a former Scott Clausing buildings near the library, next to the library. They've been remodeled, and they're very nice and functional for extension activities, and you're able to do a lot more than you were in the prior building, which was a lot smaller, and people were sitting next to each other and on top of each other, and didn't have the operating space you have now. So, but I guess you're saying that you anticipate that to be a rental for a period of years, several years, I think 3 years, wasn't it?
As it stands now.
As it stands now, but, and I think we've discussed before, other counties have their own standalone building that offers a lot of functionality and ability to do a lot of different activities with it.
Correct.
Right, so we hope to get, I know you hope to get to that point soon.
We hope to at some point in time, yes.
Right, Mr. Solomon, I know that the case regarding the extension district and whether or not, all this is going forward or not was heard by the Court of Appeals in early, was it June 12th or something like that?
June 10th, I think.
10th, okay. And there's been no further word.
That's right. That's right. That appeal is fully briefed and argued, and it's pending, so awaiting a ruling from the Court of Appeals.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you. David, down on the bottom of the paper, it says uncleared transactions, 35,195. What would that be?
That's bills that were coming in that hasn't been paid yet.
Okay.
Anyone else? All right, seeing no one, thank you for coming and appreciate your presentation today.
Thank you, Judge. We appreciate the time.
Thank you. Our next group with a presentation is the Oldham County Stormwater District, Will Douglas and Jim Sullivan, County Engineer.
Good afternoon, Judge and Magistrates. As the judge says, I'm here to present our FY 2020 budget for the Stormwater Management District Board. And if you turn to your page 4 of the packet that was presented to you, you'll see at the bottom of that, I think the most important is that the board had recommended and approved that the stormwater quality fee remain at and unchanged at $33.84. And that's a yearly fee that's added to homeowners' property tax bill that they get from the sheriff's office. In that same process, the board also recommended, under the FY 2020 budget, the overall total operating revenue to come in. We've estimated just over about $2 million at approximately, if you look at it, it's $2,543,443. That's our total operating revenue. Of that total operating revenue, we expect just over $900,000 in stormwater quality fees to come in. And including that is approximately $2,500 in earned interest income on our carryover or reserves. And we had just approximately over $1.1 million in carryover reserves. So that gave us that total of $2,005,443. In our 2020 budget, we are proposing also our total operating expenses to be just over $1.1 million. That's broken down from administrative cost. That includes our CAECO insurance premiums, our SPGE audit, our SPGE fee, our audit and director fees, also our service agreement contracts with Oldham County Fiscal Court, and also the City of LaGrange. And we're also proposing in our FY 2020 budget, we're doing a line item at least $500,000 to work and start completion of a project, MS4 project, capital improvement project. And as soon as I finish with the budget, I'll have Jim explain what that project's going to be, our first phase, working that out. So if you look, you'll see that basically after our total operating expenses, we propose to just have just over $871,000 at the end of 2020 in our reserves. And that's because we're working on projects. Not only are we doing administratively to keep ourselves above water with Kentucky Division of Water and our EPA with our MS4 program, it's also to keep us out of violations with those organizations through the state and the federal government. But with that in mind, if you take a quick look at 2019, our projected cost that we've expenditure so far, one thing I wanted to highlight was what we've completed in MS4 projects and what we spent in expenditures. We did in 2019, in our fiscal year there, we did the City of Orchard Grass Hills. We reimbursed the City of Orchard Grass Hills at $113,800 for some stormwater improvements they made in their city. They have actually spent close to, I think it was around $650,000. And they came in and asked if they could have half of that. Of course, the board voted just to do certain sections, and we only voted to do some stormwater related, which was some storm and gutter and some drains and some French drains and some easements and drain easements. But we figured it out based on their cost, that the bid they had, and we came up with $113,800. The board voted unanimously to support that because as much money as they put into that project so far. We also, in 2019, with 80/20 funds, the board put in 20% of the, which was the Settlers Point box culvert project, and that portion was around $94,860. And so as you can tell, we may be getting about $200,000 in reserves, but we're spending, in 2019, we spent that reserves that we would normally get, and that was the whole purpose. I think in the past that I've talked about in the 2016 all the way up to each year. So currently, yes, the stormwater fee is going to remain the same for this year, but as it stands, if we're continually improving and making improvements out there on stormwater related projects, that fee will not be suffice to handle future capital improvement projects that come in. But this year, we were able to maintain it. We're going to try to use some of the reserves, but if you start using all the reserves, projects will, and issues will just bottom out, and we'll have to wait until we accumulate it again. I also brought Jim up because I wanted him to talk about some of the MS4 project, and wanted to go over, basically, he'll explain that the small municipal separated storm sewer system, which is the MS4 Phase 2 program, and what we're required to do by the state, and what we've done so far, because you saw in your packet, many of your districts, the magistrates receive emails where the county engineer's office, our MS4 coordinator, and his staff go out, and they do a tremendous job supporting the community when there are stormwater-related issues that go about. You see photos, you see the stormwater runoff, and basically what they do and what they try to offer. And we appreciate the court's support and the confidence that you've had. The other two board members are Gail Cox and Tom Springer, and we all really wish to say thank you to Stan Clark and to Jim for their support and their efforts on the stormwater. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Jim?
So with regard to the MS4 program, and I guess most notably, there are the 6 MCMs, the minimum control measures, that we're tasked with enforcing and upholding. 1 is the public outreach and education, 2, public participation, 3, illicit discharge related, 4, construction site runoff, 5, post-construction stormwater management, and 6, pollution prevention and good housekeeping. So with those 6, the engineering department and the fiscal court, several other departments do work to maintain those and again, enforce them. With regard to the public education and outreach, just recently, within the last couple of months this spring, along with or in coordination with the UK Extension Office and our Curry's Fork coordinator, watershed coordinator, Becca Truman, the fiscal court and engineering department, put on a program at the Extension Center, the new office, to educate people on their backyard streams and how to better maintain them. And so that goes towards the outreach and education, and also towards the, it really goes to our post-construction. This is very, very post-construction, but maintenance, because these streams, if you don't monitor them and you don't take care of them and people don't know how to take care of them, they'll continue to erode and degrade. So we are able to reach out to the public. There was an excellent turnout. I think we had to pull some extra chairs into the room for that event to seat everyone. And we had some very positive responses. We've also, as far as the illicit discharge detection, what we're trying to do as a department is send out a monthly service report, and in that service report you'll see there are a couple times where we get calls from people who, that you might see a barrel on your property or nearby, and that's, they'll want us to come and see if that's been deposited illegally, or if it's been there for a long time, and as far as a pollutant, if it's a concern, so we can look into that, and that might show up as a illicit discharge report on that service report we send out monthly. As far as the engineering department, we do spend a lot of time, and I think you all know, with our review of plans. As developments, whether commercial or residential subdivisions, are brought into the county, we're tasked with reviewing the plans to make sure the current runoff is not exceeded by the post-development once they put all these roofs and parking lots and impervious area. So the engineers for these developers, again, whether commercial or residential, of properties over an acre, perform extensive design and submit calculations to our office, and we review both the design and calculations. Often do field checks to make sure everything is in compliance with what we're seeing on paper in the field. And again, that ensures that then once we've reviewed that and approved it and issued a stormwater quality and erosion control permit, they're able to proceed with construction with faith that and confidence that they're proceeding correctly. Then to follow up with that, after construction is all done, well, actually during construction, we're monitoring construction and making sure that the erosion control measures that are set forth in those plans are maintained. And it does require a periodic inspection because that erosion control document is somewhat of a living document as things may change on site or operations may dictate some modifications. So we're here to work with the developers and make sure they're implementing this process appropriately and to the county and the fiscal court standards. Then after development is done, we get into the minimum control measure 5, which is the post-construction management. And again, that's a maintenance issue to make sure as these developments in their perpetuity don't degrade or require further maintenance and that they're upkept. And then we get into the MCM4, the pollution prevention and good housekeeping, that we start looking into our own departments. Specifically, the road department is going out and maintaining our ditches and features within the right-of-way that could be eroding for various reasons. If there's just, I think we've all seen over the past 2-3 years a significant increase in rainfall. We've seen constantly increasing erosion, and the road department's kind of at hand at our call to go out and help out. And with our direction, the engineering department can go out and inspect the area of concern, whether it's something that we've observed, the magistrate's observed, someone in the public has observed. We'll go look at it, make an evaluation, make a recommendation, and the road department can see to it that we can make an adjustment or a fix as best as we can. I did include it's an 11-month summary of kind of our service report from the engineering department. And when I say engineering department, but it also includes planning and other departments are involved in that also. It's not just myself and Derek Shade and Alan Bond and Victor Peak. There are other people in fiscal court that often address whether it's going out and checking out a site or they see it on their way around, or Mark Tice or one of the building inspectors observing something. So there's a broad reach of involvement in that administrative portion. But again, we didn't have June numbers totally reported yet, so this just goes through the fiscal year, June 18 through May 19. So it's an 11-month summary. Mr. Douglas had, I think one of the high points he wanted to focus on was plans for the fiscal year 20 and what's budgeted for capital projects. He was alluding to the Goshen Hills issues. There's significant stormwater runoff that's affected those neighborhoods for years, many years, I might say decades. Yeah. So now we're seeing an opportunity. The engineering department over the past, I want to say, year or more, has been able to done studies. They've acquired some survey and put together a more than preliminary design to address this. And now we're at a point where, in order to get the final completed and bid out, we'll submit or request qualifications from an outside consultant, and again proceed with the final design and get this project rolling. It's going to be a large project. It should be notable and substantial, and when it's complete, we hope to see some really positive outcomes. In addition to that, we've observed, as we take calls in as a department and as a county, I think everyone gets calls, whether it's the road department, whether it's you, judge, or magistrates, we can build a list of regions that need attention, and we can start focusing on these regions, and like this Goshen project, start developing a project to help remediate or mediate their issues.
Just to finish up on that, I would just highlight that our board meetings are on the second Monday of the month. We start at 2:30. I always send out notices to all the magistrates. Have had a few of the magistrates show up. We do have community members, residents and citizens that do come to the meetings. I will say, I'll give the push out to the Goshen Hills folks. They've been coming to those meetings since the inception of the reestablishment of the Stormwater Board. So you can imagine since 2016, September, they've been coming to those meetings. So you can see how well they want to be involved in seeing something move forward, and which I can highly understand their concerns. But there have been other citizens and homeowners that have come to the meetings also and expressed concerns about stormwater runoff. I've had magistrates show up and be concerned about their districts and some concerns they've had there, and the board members listen. And we take those sincere, and we take them into consideration and prioritizing where we need to be putting funds towards to correct those procedures or issues that are out there. But that pretty much sums up the 2020, and I know we took more time than probably we should, so.
Anybody have any questions? Magistrate Logs?
Just have one question. On page number 8, you talk about 100 storm water-related projects being done.
Yes.
Is there a list that
There is
the
a
public?
project log.
Okay, so there's a log that somebody can contact. Is it on a website, or is it on the
The-
engineer's website?
What happens is, you want to explain it, I can explain it, doesn't matter.
We just have a growing spreadsheet that we coordinate with the road department. Again, as we take calls and are able to address them and formulate recommendations, we send something to the road department. The road department has a list they kick back to us that has both the ones on the projects on that list that they've been able to address, in addition to calls they've taken outside of our office. So if you'd like, we can just provide that to anyone who
Yes.
wants.
Well, no,
But
it's
it's
just-
not on the website.
Yeah, everybody always says, what am I getting for my $33? So I just thought if there's a list, people, you can just send somebody that list and say, this is what we're doing this year or something.
And Magistrate Lawson, you're right, because I get asked all the time, what does the board get providing the county $525,000 to manage the MS4 program? And believe me, just the fact that just the 100 in excess of 100 projects that, and these are projects that the road department goes out and does, and they break down how much material was used, where they go, and how many trips they made, and the trucks. I mean, you can't put a dollar amount on that. I mean, but you can put a dollar amount on the material that they use, but it's excessive, and I don't believe between employees and salaries and that the Stormwater Board provides to the county even probably covers that, but that's just all we have. So, but there is a list, and there's, you know, and many of these
We have
are
a
in your
list, we
districts.
can make it available.
Make it available to the
The
magistrates.
list could be on the website to show
Yes.
what streets, but when you start getting into how many men, who were the men that worked there, how much material did we use, how many days, yeah, your spreadsheet would be kind of hard to read on.
Yeah, it's hard to read. I mean,
Not easy to read when they hand you the spreadsheet, it's, you know, about this wide,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm just talking about the project itself.
Right. Right. Magistrate Harrison.
Yes, thank you, Judge. Jim, or Willie, the one, you brought up the Settlers Point Culvert project. How was that final price affected by the in-process discovery of the sewer line, followed by the in-process discovery of the water line? Does that figure include the extras that were
Yes.
caused by that, or
yes. Yeah.
what would it have cost without those?
Probably 80-something, 86. I think it was just, it raised it some because of the relocation of the sewer line. And the reason why the sewer line was not properly marked, and plus the sewer line was in the roadway. So it had to be moved in order for us to get to place the box cover, culvert. So the cost of that had to include moving the sewer line.
Just splitting hairs, it was not improperly marked. It was not marked.
No, I don't know.
That was
how
the
it
issue.
I don't know how it was marked or unmarked or what.
No,
It's
that
just
was the problem. It was not marked. Nobody knew it was there.
No, I believe it was marked. I mean, the other
fine.
county engineer's not here, so I can't really answer.
I did the mapping. I assure you it was not marked.
Okay.
You know, that
I won't
was just
dispute
a
it.
cluster all the
I
way
won't-
around.
I won't dispute it.
Anyway, in the earlier meeting you had with the environmental committee, you talked about the change in the impervious surface and pervious surface, that crushed stone is now pervious. rock driveways, gravel driveways?
That's correct. That's,
If I remember correctly, when this program started, the planning commission, and we didn't have the GIS department at that time, but they digitized houses and driveways all over the county, which means they would have included gravel the same as asphalt. So at what point is there justification to go back and revisit that? And again, I'm speaking for a lot of people in my district. They don't know what an asphalt driveway is. They got gravel driveways. We've got a lot of mobile homes that only come close to your 6,000 square foot with a home and a driveway. We got modular homes that don't. We got small brick homes. And I'm not sure it's fair to the constituents and the residents in Oldham County to use this really big, broad brush and paint the whole county with it. It doesn't seem fair to me. I'm not sure what the solution is, but I wish it could be re-examined.
We'll take a look at that. I'm not sure either. I would have to look at it and see what the KRS, Kentucky Revised Statute, allows. And it explains on the impervious surface. And I think you're getting into the equivalent residential unit amount that you're figuring for the 6,000 square or 6,000 square. So I would have to look at KRS to find out. So that was what was, I think, originally formulated way back in the 80s. I don't know, since the inception when first
If memory
stormwater.
serves correctly, it was a guess or an estimate at that time, to be re-examined later to see whether it was correct, incorrect, fair, or unfair.
And
And I
we'll
don't
take-
know what's been done.
We'll take a look at that.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Magistrate Hounds.
Part of the education piece that I don't know how you guys get out, and I'm happy to help, is, and I've talked to both of you about this, is explaining to people what is actually their responsibility and what is actually the county's responsibility. As we've talked, there's places in my district where people are coming and saying, when are you going to clean out this ditch line? And I'm going, I don't know that that's our ditch line. You know, I think that that's yours. And they're telling me, no, it's not. But anyway, I don't know how we do some education, and maybe Jay may not like me for this comment, but maybe we get Jay on the street and Vic or whoever you want to be our MC, and we go through and show some of these things. I mean, I think that public education in the video form would be better than a document.
Right.
You know, a short video, maybe we could put that out, the magistrates could post it on their Facebook or whatever media they use. But just trying to get that education piece out, because you're right, I mean,
Right. A
you
lot
know,
of
I've had this conversation, I get phone calls every single week.
Right,
The
and
same
it's,
drop.
and it's about education, not only just about what they should call about or what they should report. It's also about illicit discharges, you know, because there for a long time, when we first, in 2016, you know, we used to have people that just dispose of chemicals or paint down their storm drains, out in their, you know, on their street parking lot or street roadway, that they see a storm drain and they're out there washing their brushes and pouring their gasoline and whatever else they could put in there, because they figured it wasn't supposed to go on the ground. But it's education-wise, you know, that's just something that needs to be taught. And over the last 3 or 4 years, the county engineers and MS4 program has been pushing that literature out that basically says that's the wrong way to do it. Even the state's been doing it with the Kentucky Division of Water on the stormwater-related educational. But as far as like what you're discussing, what is proper for reporting, that's fine. I mean, I'm fine for doing that, and I think we can work on that. And I still think, though, I think it's wise that, you know, if people want to call in and say we have a stormwater-related issue, let them call in. I mean, I think that's what it's for.
well,
That's what,
Your
I
cell
mean,
phone number is, let me get that down here.
well,
222, what is it, 1433?
147, yeah,
No, I don't know.
Ours is on there, but as far as the I guess explaining and clarifying whose responsibility is what, that typically comes after the call. And I think
Yeah.
you all are privy to many of the reports that go out to the callers. And so that's usually expressed in the report as well as over the phone, whether it's myself or Vic or someone else. And so a lot of people are getting that information, and I think then they're calling you if they don't like the answer.
Two comments I'll make there. One is this is a hot button topic.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
you're well aware of that, I know. Another piece is, I've been dealing with Vic Peak for many years before I got this position, and he doesn't always tell people what they want to hear, but it's always the truth. And that's pretty important that they hear it, and the message is the same. Because when someone moves into a house and they have the same issue, you know, he's called and said, well, I'm going to give them the same information that I gave them in 2015. I'm like, well, that's what they deserve. I mean, it
He's
hasn't
consistent.
changed. He's consistent.
And we're,
And you're
hopefully
not-
as a organization, we're consistent.
And you know, this is a fee. I mean, it's not a tax, it's a fee. And the fee is basically, you're gonna have some people say, I can't afford $33.84 a year, which comes out to be $2 and some odd cents a month. And you're gonna have some that says that when they have stormwater issues in their neighborhood, they're gonna say $33.84 isn't enough because of the way it costs to fix and repair those, and make improvements to avoid having flooding in their homes. That's caused maybe by something that's done on the roadway or drainage ditch that was not properly done at the beginning, so.
Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. A lot of people probably already know this, but Jefferson County charges a stormwater fee a lot higher than ours, a lot. And, but I wanted you to give us a quick update on the Goshen Hills project.
Well, I know the county engineer's office is working on that formal request,
RFQ.
RFQ is basically, the reason why I think we're going in this route is because we want to get a consultant engineer basically outside of the county engineer's office to just make sure that what our first phase is going to do the proper way of handling that much water that comes into those neighborhoods. It's a small price to pay, but I just think it alleviates, if there's any issues, alleviates any issues on liability, maybe. Just to say that we're doing this right, but also just to make sure that this is the right step to take, because, you know, we don't have much money to play with. It's not like you're building a building and you're saying, okay, it's gonna cost us umpteen dollars. When you're only saying I'm allocating for phase one, $400,000 to $500,000 to a project, you know, you don't want any surprises out there. So
It was a pretty good end run.
it is.
What's the timing
You know,
that we're looking at?
Well, the timing right now, we're hopefully
Shooting.
very, next several days, I hope we'll get that RFQ out publicly so the consultants can respond. And then we'll try and fast track that turnaround to get there, make a decision on selecting a consultant and then scoping the project. So,
we have some preliminary plans, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, you know, but,
and because of the nature of the plans that have been done, again, they're more than preliminary. It shouldn't be the full design process for that consultant to finalize it. Again, it's the last finalization.
One of the projects is already in my district, so I'm not squalling too loud, but this one is a problem.
and if you talk to the residents there that come to the meetings, they've been waiting long time. So. But they believe daylight at the end of the tunnel. I mean, if they were here, they'd say the same thing.
Magistrate Harrison.
Thank you. Maybe I misunderstood, Will. I thought you said something about an engineer outside the engineering department to determine how much water is going into manholes.
No.
Or no manholes.
Again, we've done, no.
I mean, this is not a storm drainage underground system. It's above
No,
ground
no, I
open
didn't say
ditch,
manhole.
right?
No.
It's
Okay,
open
thank you.
ditch with road crossings.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you being here today.
Good job.
Moving along, the next group here is the Oldham LaGrange Development Authority budget presentation. David Bazanis is here today. And, David, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Judge. Thank you, magistrates. Since I'll be presenting on the Oldham LaGrange Development Authority and the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Office, I thought it'd be probably useful for me to kind of go through the structure of how our chamber and our Economic Development Office are structured, and then I can end that part and answer questions, or I can go straight into the Oldham piece if you'd like. It's up to you. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Wonderful. Well, thank you. My name's David Bazanis. I'm the president of the Oldham Chamber and Economic Development Office, and I'm excited to be here today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to come before you and talk to you about our Chamber of Commerce here in the county, our efforts in economic development, and of course follow that up with the progress going on at our largest economic development asset, Oldham Reserve Business Park. I've updated a presentation from last year and put in some relevant information, and I'm happy at any point if you want to interrupt me, that's fine, but I'll go through this and then kind of set aside some time for questions. I'll talk about our Chamber of Commerce, and then I'll switch over into economic development and talk about some of those activities and go from there. But first, I thought it'd be prudent to reacquaint you with the structure of our organization. In 2010, our Chamber and Economic Development offices had merged their resources together, and the structure is such that we have a board of directors of 15. 9 of those are elected positions, 6 of them are appointed. 5 of the appointees are from the county government and our local municipalities, 3 from this body, our fiscal court, 1 from the city of LaGrange, 1 from the city of Crestwood, and then our superintendent of schools is an appointment by our board chair, who is here today. Christy Pollen is our board chair, was recently reelected and serving her 2nd year as our board chairperson on the committee. We're glad that she could be here today. We have a staff of 4. I serve as the president. We have a vice president of economic development here today, that's Sandy Hamilton, and a vice president of chamber services in May Marks, and we also have a part-time office manager. And I would just like to note a little piece when it comes to the titles of our office here. You know, last year our board got together, and one of the discussions we had was about title changes. I realize we have a small office, and it's kind of silly that we have a president, 2 vice presidents, and an office manager, but the reason this was done was not necessarily for anybody's resume enhancement. It was because a lot of the things that we do, we are boots on the ground when it comes to working with the business community, and a lot of time it takes people on our staff trying to get past gatekeepers to get to those C-level executives, and it's a lot more useful sometimes when they're responding to a vice president than, say, an assistant director or a manager level. So those were things that we had made so that we could have greater access and mobility when we were working with potential clients and customers. I have a dotted line going out to the side to show that we are also serve as the staff for the Oldham LaGrange Development Authority currently. And then our organization breaks down into multiple committees that meet basically upon request or need. So we have programs like Celebration of Women or our annual golf scramble, which is coming up on August 8th. I hope that you guys can make it to it. And we'll put together committees to help us plan those events, but we also have a member services committee that is chaired by Gary Hardy and an economic development committee that is chaired by Steve Wilson. This is a list, an updated list of our board of directors. We just went through our board elections, and Christy Pollen was reelected to be in our board. We also have our county appointees, Gary Hardy from Farmers Bank, Jason Morgan from Stockyards Bank, and Ken Stess from S&A Insurance, all of whom have been long-term chamber members and very engaged members at that, and contribute quite a bit to our board, so we appreciate those appointments. Also, Zach Van Zandt from the city of LaGrange and Jason Duckworth is our new Crestwood appointee, replacing Jim Kramer, who's now, as you know, the mayor of Crestwood. So in regards to our chamber services, we have 2 businesses that we function as out of our office. In our Chamber of Commerce, we view as the role to cultivate the business community in Oldham County. We offer resources through the SBA, through SCORE, through the Better Business Bureau, programming and events, all geared towards trying to help our local businesses be able to connect, grow the amount of jobs that they provide, and be able to be successful. And we do that through several different ways. We have a very thriving and healthy chamber. Our membership has been growing. Last year we hosted over 70 events in 2018 and 19, and I put up on your desk there the new chamber guide that we had put together. And the chamber guide represents all of the programming that our Chamber of Commerce offers, as well as some of the sponsorship opportunities to give you a sense of some of the things that we do to try to generate revenue. About half of our budget, a little bit more than half of our budget comes from the Oldham County Fiscal Court, the City of LaGrange, and City of Crestwood. The other half comes from those programs and services, our top investor program, our membership dues, and whatnot. So for us, this public-private partnership is a very important way to balance out our revenue. And in the last 3.5 years, our chamber and our economic development office have offered more programming, more events, growing chamber membership, more engagement, better marketing for the community, and more economic development activity than has happened since I've been in this office since 2009. And we've managed to do that without coming back to this body and asking for additional funds since we merged in 2010. It's something we're very proud of. Additionally, we offer a lot of free events for chamber members, including the Edge workshops, our Power Hour, our coffee talks. Those are programs that we host. Many of them are all around the county, and some at City Place in LaGrange. Our Leadership Oldham County class is probably one of our most popular programs. Used to be a 9-month program that took place over the course of a year. And tomorrow will be our next class of Leadership Oldham County, but we condensed this down to a 6-month program, and we're going to hold it twice a year so we can have it year round. The upcoming class, which starts tomorrow, is already sold out, and I believe the next session, 6 months, is sold out as well, so we're probably a year in advance to be able to do that. But that program takes business leaders and emerging leaders around the county, shows them all of our assets. I believe Judge is presenting tomorrow on Fiscal Court, and connects them with not only our business community, but our local community services, our nonprofits, and gives them not just the access to the leaders and stakeholders that are in all of those positions, but also gives them the viewpoint of there are things that are still needed in this county, and gives them an opportunity to step up as leaders and engage, which is one of the primary motivations and objectives of that program. We have fresh programming. We had our OSED Talks. It was becoming a very popular program. We try to bring up topics that are not the stereotypical chamber topics. Gone are the days where you get to come in and listen to somebody talk about the importance of your credit score. Some of our most recent OSED Talks have included how to deal with an active shooter. We approached the medical marijuana and hemp topics and how they are affecting our community. Had a great panel discussion for that. And also it featured our local leader, John Stewart, in talking about how design affects the building community and just the little, the little things that happen when you walk into a hotel room, from the feel of the handle on the door to the sound that it makes when it shuts behind you, to the music, to the sense, to those types of things. And it was really an interesting kind of TED Talk is the way we've tried to put together this program. And of course we had our dodgeball tournament at the YMCA, and a very popular putt-putt tournament where businesses could sponsor a hole and they could build their putt-putt hole according to the theme of their business to promote what it is that they're doing. And then our Chamber Challenge, which was just received an honorable recognition from the American Chamber of Commerce Executives Group that just met in California, where our own May Marks was invited to serve on a panel discussion to talk about innovative chamber programs. And then I put down here Vice President of Chamber Services is one of those assets, because May Marks is definitely that. Last year, our board really recognized a really challenging problem that we have. As a hybrid organization, the dollars that you spend with us are intended to go towards economic development. And it's been very clear direction that we've received from you that says that you want those resources to be used in trying to attract new business and growing jobs here, and not necessarily spent organizing a golf scramble or doing those things. The challenge of this, though, is, of course, this community needs to have somebody who can be a very engaged person with all of those individual business owners. So when it comes to the ribbon cuttings, when it comes to integrating them with the programs and events and things we put on, we really have to have a special person be able to do that. And we've been fortunate to have many of those people come through our office over the years. The challenge with it is with a budget from a nonprofit like ours, it's difficult to be able to pay the type of salary and offer the types of benefits that would keep somebody around. So oftentimes we would get somebody who's very good, who would come in, they'd spend a year, they'd do a great job, and they'd get an opportunity somewhere else, and we couldn't keep them here. And that really makes it difficult to build up consistency growing long term. So we looked at this as a challenge as a board, and we came together and reallocated some of our resources and made sure that one thing is we're trying to attract a certain type of employer to this county that we can be proud of, that offers good jobs and offers benefits. And we had to look in the mirror and say, well, what are we doing with our employees from that regard? And so Through that effort, we were able to kind of reorganize some of our resources, and we were able to approach May, who had gone to work with my predecessor, Dina Karam, at Greater Louisville, Inc., and we were able to court her back to Oldham County, where she's been for the last year this month, and done a tremendous job in not just making sure that we pull off the events, but also making sure that the thought process behind how we create those events is in line with what our goals are for economic development, but also be the person who can be front and center, and when there's an opportunity for that person to get exposure and the chamber president's not available to be there because showing property and can't be at a ribbon cutting or something like that, that they don't feel like they're passed off, but they have the person who was there with them from the get-go. And May is a tremendous asset to not just our organization, but this community, so we're very proud to have her. Now I'm going to switch over to economic development. From a staffing standpoint, economic development in our office is myself and Sandy Hamilton. And one of the important pieces of what we're doing to be stewards of the tax money that is coming in to help support these efforts is make sure that we're as transparent and communicative as possible with this body and all of our investors. And we do that through regular face-to-face updates with elected leadership, monthly reporting to the Fiscal Court Economic Development Committee, and then, of course, we have a close working relationship with our Planning and Development Director, Jim Urban, and Jim Silliman, our county engineer, who is a breath of fresh air, and we're very excited that is here. So thank you for such a great team out of the development office. And we're currently working with that office to update do the 5-year update for the comprehensive plan, which I'll talk about a little bit later. We have a lot of initiatives in trying to drive and grow development here and grow businesses. That starts with our economic development website. We do a lot of lead prospecting, face-to-face visits in other markets to try to get people and tell our story about what's going on in our county. Workforce support through Kentuckiana Works. We just recently received our Work Ready recertification as a Work Ready community through the KAED and Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development Office, and then Code Louisville. And then inventory management. This sounds like kind of a boring one, but this is actually one of the most important things that we do out of our office, and that is to make sure that we are in tune and knowledgeable about every piece of real estate, commercial and industrial real estate pieces of property that are available. And it doesn't just count the ones that are listed, it also includes the ones that are not listed, of which there are several. When you have people that own large pieces of land and don't necessarily want to put it up for sale, but may be willing to do something. And so that is something that we have gotten a very good handle on over the last couple of years, and that's due to the hard work of Sandy Hamilton, who has been painstakingly going through with phone calls and emails and making sure that wherever we see an opportunity when it comes to a property, that the owner of that property is aware of the inquiries that they're getting and the type of activity that we have here, so that we can hopefully incent them to work out a deal and we can get a project. Ongoing efforts to advocate for infrastructure needs. This is something that there's a large group doing. Obviously, we are a small part of that. Everything from sewer roads to all types of utilities. We hope to try to encourage this body to continue to make the investments that you're making and the efforts that you're putting forward to grow our business community. It is the root of all of the success we're seeing when it comes to our business growth, from the new interchange to the internal roads that are being considered for Oldham Reserve to the 393 expansion and everything in between. Just Friday, our office submitted a grant to the Kentucky Cabinet for Economic Development, which is a new grant. There was a pool of money set aside by the Cabinet of $6 million, where they will grant up to $500,000 for a site or an economic development project to add to the infrastructure. So we submitted the Oldham Reserve project for that, and hopefully we'll be following up with you by the end of the year to announce that we've received anywhere up to $500,000 for that project. I think we have a good case to make for that. Our economic development website, oldhamsites.com, is a very important piece because it is the front porch of business growth in this community. When it comes to someone who's looking to find a site and find all of the necessary data and resources, that's the website to go to. And from that site, you can get granular information on data, and from consumer spending habits to traffic counts to age and skill set demographics, and also have a feed to the commercial real estate and industrial real estate that is available in the county as a whole. And what we like about that is while there are a lot of real estate feeds that are available through Google searches, is once you find yourself on our website, it's only going to show you what's in Oldham County, and we try to keep people in that bubble for as long as we can. And one of the things that's important about getting those messages out comes down to how you market a website. Just because you build it doesn't mean anybody knows it exists. And so since we had gone through this construction of this website in 2016, I've been using these as opportunities to tell you about some of the traffic and whatnot that we've gotten on the website. But it's important for me to explain that the traffic that we are getting to the website is what I refer to as qualified traffic. It's not people that are stumbling upon the website. These are people that are directly searching for sites that are available in the county. So we have budgeted to run Google AdWords for commercial sites. So if someone is searching for industrial real estate, commercial real estate, office space, Oldham County, Louisville, Kentucky, Midwest, United States, any of those types of keywords, our ads will show for it. And once somebody clicks on that ad, then we have to pay for that. And so it's a great way to market plan your marketing budget, but it also gives you a real sense of who's coming to your website, because you get to see not only what keywords did they search, what city were they in when they were searching, and how long did they spend on the site. Now, it's a very top of the sales funnel tool, but what it does is it keeps us from wasting money on things like full-page glossy ads in Site Selector magazine, or running an ad in Business First, or putting out a radio ad, or putting a billboard up and whatnot. We can, for a very small amount of money, really cover a lot. And so last year, I think I reported 5,700 clicks from our Google AdWords, and this year we're up to over 6,500. I think it was 6,700 actually as of today. Qualified visitors since July of 2018. And then, of course, we also collect emails as often as we can, and we market to hundreds of site selectors and brokers around the United States. So the takeaway from this is that we're getting a greater reach than we ever have before, and we're doing it for much less money. So we hope to continue to show value with that. Our lead prospecting, it's not enough to have a website. It's not enough to talk about your quality of life. You actually have to have people that you go get in front of that make decisions. And so the development community, the brokerage community namely, is one of the most important areas of untapped potential for Oldham County. So Sandy Hamilton and I have not only been meeting locally with the largest brokerage firms in the region, including CBRE, who we hosted David Hardy, who is the head of office development for CBRE, Tom Sims, who's the head of industrial, both came into Oldham County, spent the day with us. We took them through a GIS presentation where we showed them all of our improved infrastructure, all of the opportunities that were coming about, and they were blown away because they had no idea some of those things were going on. Those meetings have resulted in leads on projects and inquiries and interest from their clients. So that is something we put on our calendar to do on a regular basis to make sure we're in front of them, so we're front of mind, and we're telling the story, and we're removing any barriers to development from them. In addition to that, we met with the entire team at JLL. I guess this was probably last quarter. Had a very positive meeting with them that has resulted in a project that that's currently active with Oldham Reserve. And in that presentation, our chairman for the OLDA board, Jim Tutt, attended with Sandy and myself. We took them through the same GIS presentation, answered a lot of their questions and inquiries, and they were very excited about knowing about the potential as they are in an economic boom with a lot of the types of projects that they're working. It's not enough just to do that locally. That's something that's expected. That's something that's easier to do. We can get out and go to any number of cocktail parties and bump into a lot of these types of people. So what we're trying to do is get in the cars and go places where these people are close to these markets. So we've made multiple trips to Cincinnati. We have a trip to Nashville planned, and Fishers, Indiana, I've already been to once, and I'm planning a trip up there at the end of August to go meet with them. We meet with the local economic development officials, and then we set meetings with their brokerage community so that they can get to know us face to face. The reception from these brokers is very useful. It's very helpful because they get to put a name to a face to a name, and they also get to hear an unfiltered version of what our story is. We don't have to rely on a piece of marketing material that may hit their lap, that they may glance at, that they may look at. We get to tell them directly, this is what's happening in Oldham County, and we hope that you can get more engaged there. We, of course, attend association trips through the Kentucky Association of Economic Developers and Kentucky United and Greater Louisville Inc. Last year was the first time our office attended a Glide trip, which was in Denver, Colorado. It was very, very helpful to be able to look at a community that had a regional partnership and how they grew together, how they were able to work together without cannibalizing one another on projects and build a culture around trying to grow business in a defined region that's not held by county boundaries. But even more importantly than that, the people that are attending the glide trip are the biggest names in development and in corporations in the city of Louisville and around the area. So it's great face time with them. It's been a very useful thing. Looking forward to this year going to San Francisco. Then, of course, our growing database of brokers and site selectors. Workforce support. I'm a member of the Kentuckiana Works Board, and Greater Louisville, Inc. also has some workforce initiatives that are intended to help grow the workforce. The number one asset any community has is its workforce. Oldham County is lucky to have the highest educated, healthiest, and wealthiest workforce in the entire state of Kentucky. So that's a tremendous asset for us, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people in this community who don't need help getting access to resources to help them learn a second language or potentially get a GED or some other type of certification that could help make them more employable or even move them up from a certain employment level to a better employment level and thus help our overall economy. I'm also pleased to report that my first presentation as the director of the chamber to this body was I announced an effort for us to get Code Louisville to offer classes in Oldham County, and that just has passed, and I guess we're probably have one more class of the 12-week series that's left. Code Louisville is a free program that is actually now a national case study where federal grant money was used to offer tech training to anybody who wanted to retool. So if you were interested, say that you were in a coal mine or you were in some sort of advanced manufacturing role that is no longer exists, you could decide to take these Code Louisville classes at no charge, get retooled, and if you make it through those 12 weeks, you could receive a certification, and I think they've employed over 150 people in the last several years. We've been working with the Code Louisville team and are very thankful to Matt Watkins at the Arvin Center and our superintendent, Greg Schultz, for helping make that possible, because without having a space to accommodate the class, we would not have been able to do that. So excited to have those types of trainings going on in our community, because this is a place where I think tech jobs are going to naturally flow as we are growing. And then I mentioned working with our workforce development director, Matt Watkins, for the Oldham County Schools. And then projects, these result in projects. We're not going out every day and doing these things without the hope of trying to get somebody interested in coming here to work on projects. So over the last year, since I reported to you last, we've worked multiple corporate headquarters, information technology businesses, advanced manufacturing. We currently have 3 assisted living projects that we're working with, agribusiness, and we also have spec industrial interest for 200, 300,000, and 400,000 square foot opportunities. Of course, we're limited by where we can put some of those things, but we're working on it. Logistics, distilleries, wineries, all these are very exciting things. I would say in every category of economic development, we have a tremendous amount of activity that's going on that range from just inquiries to people wanting to go through proposals to people trying to negotiate on land. And with that, I think that's through my economic development portion. Would you like me to go on into the OLDA piece, or do you have questions?
Anybody like to ask anything about economic development or the budget associated with economic development? Magistrate Hounds.
Do you think that the Kentucky Wired piece that we're working on is going to provide the benefit I think it's going to provide? I mean, do you see that as an asset that we're going to have in Oldham County that will help attract businesses, or where do you think that falls?
Absolutely. Now, so far, we have not encountered an issue where a business wasn't able to locate because of access to internet. I do think that program is tremendous, and attended a meeting that the judge and the deputy judge had hosted where we could get more informed about that. I think it's a great opportunity to get people who are in rural areas wired to the internet. I mean, it is an absolute must. It is as important a piece of infrastructure possibly as our sewers in the information age that we're in. So I think that it's a great asset and a good investment.
I think it should be announced here that the Fiscal Court is one of 3 public funding agencies for the Chamber. Fiscal Court provides, it says here, $115,000, although our actual contribution, I think, is higher than that because we half, some of the money you get here, 45,000 from Oldham.
Correct.
Half of Oldham's money come from us as well.
That's correct.
So that's about 127,500 from us. And LaGrange is, it says 20,000 plus probably another 22,500. I don't think Crestwood provides anything, well, I know they don't to Oldham. So,
Correct.
So it's about 190, well, it's more than that. It's about 215,000, I think, from public agencies. And then the balance of your 372 comes out of programs and other members.
Well, now the old, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was to say the old amount is accounted for there, that 45.8, so this is the total number of public money.
Oh, yeah, well, okay, yeah, right, okay. That is, 195 is the public money, right, you're right
Correct.
about that, yeah.
And also, I'd like to speak to this because it is kind of an odd confusion. Sometimes there's a bill that comes in, the chamber pays, and then OLDA has to reimburse us, or, and so it gets a little strange with some of those pools of money. But the OLDA is in business to develop 1,000 acres. And we manage that business. So we began as simply the administrative piece, which kept the records, scheduled the meetings, kept the minutes, and did those type things. Since the activity engagement at Oldham Reserve has picked up, the amount of time our office spends on that is tremendously high, especially with the construction of LaGrange Parkway, as you're doing, and that will continue as these roads, as the infrastructure, as any movement is going on within that park, having somebody that can be responsive to the needs of whether it's the Corps of Engineers, whether it's the clients, whether it's our master development partners. We have a volunteer board. There has to be somebody to be able to do that. So we are able to do that for only $45,000, and we are glad to do it. It's an important part of what it is we do. I think the total of this amount of money that goes towards economic development is less than 1/2 of the overall fiscal court budget. Now, I say that just to say that what we are doing, I believe, what the fiscal court has done in merging this effort with the Chamber of Commerce is a fiscally responsible way to approach this. With this amount of money, you're getting a staff of 4 individuals, 2 individuals directly and a long-term professional in the commercial real estate business for the last 30 years at a very high level, and a chamber director who's extremely capable, and myself to be able to focus on this business. I think, so I say this in a way that is, I think that is the right way to do this, and we're appreciative of those funds, that we rely on them heavily.
All right, go ahead with Oldham Reserve.
Sure.
I was thinking, maybe you could, I don't want to put a little cap on you, but let's try to limit it to maybe 10 minutes.
Got it. As you know, the Oldham Reserve project is overseen by a board of directors, 3 of whom are county appointees, 3 of whom are city appointees. That board of directors entered into a master development agreement with John Hollaback, Greg Oakley, Talmadge Hawker, and Chris George to develop the park. And just to remind viewers at home and people here, the objective of this project is to grow our jobs, diversify our tax base, create quality and sustainable jobs, and of course improve our infrastructure. We're at a very exciting point where this project's beginning to get traction, and that is not that is completely due to the access that we are getting from infrastructure to go into the project. Just some reminders about the master agreement that we're operating under. Our partnership with OR Partners, which is Hollaback, Oakley, and Hawker, puts them in a position where 10% of the bond debt for the project is going to be due within 30 days of the clearance of the right-of-way for Exit 20. That's probably about a year from now, from this point. And the total of that amount at the release price for the bonds at 10% is going to be approximately $2.8 to $3 million. So we're looking at a point where they're going to be writing that check within a very short amount of time. 50% of the bond debt after 5 years from that point, and 100% of the bond debt 15 years after that. They're responsible for overseeing the marketing and development of the campus. They collaborate with our office on a regular basis. We meet with them monthly. They present to the OLDA board every other month, and then of course they have a very quick response time. One of the assets that, that they bring to the table is when we are working with a project, let's say a hotel hypothetically were to reach out to us and say we're interested in the county, and then we talk about Oldham Reserve and they're interested in Oldham Reserve, our responsibility according to this agreement is that we have to take that lead to our partners. What the partners have done is they kept us included in those conversations, and they can put together a proposal, whether it's a conceptual site plan, and they can turn those things around in 2 to 3 days, and of course their reputation for development is something that is sought after. One of the things that we have done in our relationship with the Cabinet for Economic Development is make sure that the people in Frankfurt who are taking in projects on a regular basis for companies that are looking to locate, making sure that those people know about Oldham Reserve and know about Oldham County and what we have to offer. And a lot of that work has really helped us increase the activity, including a visit we had from the former Secretary of Economic Development, Terry Gill, who came to sit down with Mr. Rawlings and learn about his business, because it's not just a major employer for Oldham County, but also for the state. Those efforts have been very useful in that we are getting a lot more activity out of the Cabinet when it comes to projects that they are reaching out to us for. Part of the reason they are reaching out to us is also because of our partnership with Hollenbach Oakley. We've been told that they can turn around those proposals very quickly. They can do build to suit, they can do financing, they can do all of those types of things. And then of course, they have a reputation that the Cabinet is happy to share. So oftentimes they are reaching out to us specifically so that we can get Hollenbach Oakley to make a proposal for a build to suit. Last year, we had over 7 Class A office projects for the project of interest. We currently have 4 active projects that are going through various stages right now, and we're very excited about the possibilities. A lot of this activity, in addition to drumming up more activity at the Cabinet, has also just been from getting around telling our story about the infrastructure. The infrastructure has been the key to getting people to come out and look now, because what they want to see is, how long is this going to take for me to get up and running? And if the answer is it's going to take longer than a year, then they're going to pass. But everybody's watching and everybody's paying attention. So with the announcement of the interchange, we've seen a dramatic increase in the amount of inquiries, and just as recent as last week, we had a developer who was telling us as soon as they are finalized on those construction documents and you finalize exactly how you want some of these parcels to work, give us a call. So it's great activity. We're excited about it. We have a long way to go, but we're getting there. The master agreement also included some deliverables that the county and the city had to deliver, and fortunately, through a lot of hard work, those things have been achieved, which include the I-71 overpass, the Louis Dampier Bridge, which opened in 2015, the construction of LaGrange Parkway, which opened in 2018, and now what was worded in the master agreement as a best effort to get an interchange at exit 20 is now coming to fruition, which we're hoping to be able to drive on in 2022. And of course, this is a group effort, so a lot of the work that has happened from this body, from our judge, going to Washington, D.C. and working with the Secretary of Transportation, from our state legislature, our Senator Ernie Harris and Representative, our Speaker of the House, David Osborne, Rick Rand and Jerry Miller, a lot of those people just doing a lot of good work in Frankfurt on behalf of this county, our fiscal court and our city of LaGrange, obviously, our planning and development office, our office, and then of course all our partners with the things that they're doing. So that concludes my presentation. I would just like to say that thank you for the effort that you have put into trying to continue to grow business in the county. I know that that's a tricky business when you get into development, and we try to manage the quality of life and preserve the quality of life here in Oldham County, but I would just encourage you that every opportunity you get to have to continue to invest in infrastructure, that is something that you look at and consider. So that's my presentation.
Magistrate Likens.
Thank you, Judge. I know we built the new 4-lane bridge in the LaGrange Parkway, and I brought this up in committee before. Utilities. It's not like location, location, location. I've tried to find clients land in Jefferson County, and I can't find any. But out in Oldham County, we got this 1,000 acres, and we don't have sewers, water, gas, electric, telephone. Nobody's going to build anything until you get utilities to this property. What is the plan for getting utilities?
That's correct, and it's a great question. That is the key to the entire development. There are a few. There is a section of the park that has utilities available. So we can entertain a project that could be up and running within a year in certain parts of the park. Now, the other areas of the park, and of course the mechanism to fund the infrastructure is in the master development agreement. So the way this works would be as land sells, there's a portion of the proceeds from the land sales that go into a waterfall or an escrow account that are to be put back into the investment for the park for infrastructure. Now, obviously, we have to sell some land to be able to have that happen. The land that is currently available is more available than it was. The opening of LaGrange Parkway was a crucial piece to this project. Getting access to the park has been a tremendous effort. When you have a business like the Rawlings Group move into a development where they come in with 500 employees, they add 1,000 employees in a short amount of time as they're trying to add an additional 500, and we have the traffic backups and the dangers that we see being addressed at exit 22. It makes it hard to show land. When the land that's available for sale is right next to the wastewater treatment plant, it comes up. So what we have to do is continue these investments in the park. If we want to be serious about bringing people into Oldham Reserve, we're going to have to continue to make these investments. And I think that that the mechanism that is in the Master Development Agreement is something that will work. I think that it's just a matter of getting those first steps. Currently, we have a number of opportunities to get that going, and I think once that goes, our whole conversation really changes. And we're not just talking about corporate office, we're talking about from retail to advanced manufacturing to corporate office. So we have a number of different types of projects, all of whom are interested, but it really comes down to, and I will say for anybody that attended the last Oldham meeting, it is obvious that the closer you are to being able to say, this is where your lot can be, and it has everything that needs to go, is the closer you can be to getting a deal done. And that's all we have to do to get a deal done, is be able to get further along with that. And I'll say also, Magistrate, it's not just Oldham Reserve that has those problems. Our whole county has a lot of those problems. There are numerous sites around this county where we are missing out on opportunities because we need more infrastructure. Now, there's an effort to bring those infrastructure. That's why I say let's continue to bring the infrastructure in. But I won't say in a public forum, I won't name all those places, but there are several areas where we're missing out on an opportunity to have, Conagra's expansion or Treehouse's expansion in Buckner was a 500,000 square foot building that they put there. We currently have people that are wanting to build 200, 300, and 400,000 square feet on spec in our community. The problem is where they're zoned to be able to do it, it's not really accommodating, whether it's from the sites that aren't ready, whether they're just raw land, and or the lack of particularly sewer and water to those sites. In regards to internet and electricity and gas, we're told by LG and EKU and AT&T and Spectrum, all of those carriers, they can be to any site that they need to be within a year. So that those aren't really barriers right now at this point. But water and sewer, water and sewer.
Measure die.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, David. Good presentation. I want to have a couple comments. I'm on the ODA board, and the deliverables that he mentioned earlier of the overpass, the parkway, and of course the ramps. And again, Judge, I think that you did a great job in Washington on that, and everyone else that's helped. But that's what's going to be the nexus of this project getting going. And Magistrate Likens, I totally agree with you. But from what I've gathered, what I know today from this kind of project, and David I'll reiterate it, is it's not the electric or the internet. That's not the problem, or the phone. It's the sewers, and we do have on the property land available that's for gravity-fed sewers. It's when you get into the lift stations, the multi-million-dollar lift stations. That's when it gets pretty dicey pretty quick. So the only thing I can say, Magistrate Likens, is bring your people out here and talk to David. There's property out there. And we probably got something you could afford. So I think that I think you might have a potential customer here today, David.
There we go. We'll follow up.
And the other thing I want to say is working with David and his staff on the ODA board is really great. They're just an exact copy of the staff that we have here at the Fiscal Court. I mean, they're just great. So I don't know who copied them or what machine it came from, but they did good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Magistrate Greenwell.
Thank you, Judge. David, on the OR Partners investment in the project, it says 10% of the bond debt is due within 30 days of the clearance of the right-of-way. What amount of money is that?
It's about 2.8 to $3 million.
And is that something that could be plowed right back into infrastructure?
The discussion is happening, yes.
I would think so. Okay.
They're motivated to put the infrastructure in as well. They can't make money until they can sell land either. So that's definitely one of their objectives, correct. I think that sometimes the hang-up on this topic is, should they pay to put the infrastructure in, which essentially they're doing through the master development agreement. But to consider or to think that they would come in and invest their money in a piece of property they don't own up front, I don't think is a realistic way. That's why it was structured this way. And that's
Pretty soon you're getting ready to
that's
own
right.
part of it.
That's right.
All right, thank you, David. Appreciate
Thank you.
you and Sandy and May being here today, and also Christie. All right. Thank you very much. All right.
We take a break.
All right, let's, it's now, according to our clock in here, 3:45. Want to take a 10-minute break?
Remind you really quick, as in top investors in our, I'll come up with that thing. Okay. As top investors in our chamber, you all have complimentary access to any and all programs. And our membership is really growing in that small business space. And a lot of what I'm hearing is that people are appreciating the access they have to leadership in our community to ask not only your expertise in business and your backgrounds, but also how their small business plays into all of our larger development plans. So the more of your faces we can see at more events, the better. So always shoot me an email or text me if you can attend. We'd love to see as many of you as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that most of us here are certainly attempt to attend as many as we can, you know, so. All right, is there a motion we take a 10-minute break?
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
10 minutes.